Welcome to Market Like a Hotshot, episode 54.
Holy cow.
Holy cow, 54. And we have ourselves a guest today.
Yeah, we've got our second guest that we've had on the show, and it's none other, you know, all the hotshots out there in Hotshot Nation. You probably have heard the name a million times. Now you're going to actually meet the man, Mr. Chuck Goldstone.
Chuck Goldstone. We do a lot of shout-outs for you, Chuck.
Excellent.
I think you might be leading the pack in terms of shout-outs on the Market Like a Hotshot.
Well, I'm going to have to call the Globe.
You're going to have to call the
And
Globe
let them
or the
know.
New York Times.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
how
get
it
you in
goes.
there.
But we're very happy to have you on. You're an icon here in the greater Boston community, in the entrepreneur community. Storytelling Like a Hotshot is without a doubt the title of our podcast today, and you're the ultimate when it comes to storytelling.
You actually wrote the book on it.
You wrote a
too.
book. So just really quick here, strategies and stories, chuckgoldstone.com. You can check it out, right?
Yeah, you can, or just look on Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.
Just use my name and it will come up.
So, yeah, a good night last night at Venture Cafe, huh?
It's always good. It's
always a
it's
great
a
night.
great
I saw 'em
place
there.
to network, and it's a great place just to let serendipity happen. You know, it's probably one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised if you just pay attention. How many opportunities just fall in your lap? And I talk about serendipity all the time because it's really pretty incredible how you can just pay attention and someone or something will, hey, I know a guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what
a lot of it happens at Venture Cafe. I think it's one of the better, and I think in Boston, I think for me it's the best venue for simply running into people and sharing ideas.
Perfect. Every Thursday gathering, right in Kendall Square, Cambridge. Jeez.
What's kind of interesting is that my fourth time at Venture Cafe, so at Venture Cafe they give you your name tag and it tells you how many times you attended. I had the number 4. Chuck, coincidentally, was on number 400.
You had a couple zeros there.
Which I thought was hilarious. But
I did a lot of mentoring through the years. I had office hours all the time, so it was always a really great place to share ideas. I get to meet a huge number of startups, and we would have half-hour sessions. It's really pretty amazing what you can accomplish and how you can change people's perspective in just a very brief conversation. But yeah, I explain 400. Yeah, I say to people, either I'm very supportive of the entrepreneurial community, or my life is so pathetic I have nowhere else to be on a Thursday.
Well, you could spend it at a bar. Right?
I could.
Yeah, so I think it's better, being around some of the smartest brains on the planet.
I've met some extraordinary people there.
So,
and
I have too.
So this is where we met Chuck. Well, I've known you for probably close to 10 years, but I got to know Chuck. Every week we go to Venture Cafe and we meet people, we have a good conversation. So really excited to have you here today. We do a lot of shout-outs. The shout-out king here on Market Like a Hotshot. So, but anyways, what do you say? We want to jump right into it?
I think we dive right into it. Chuck has some incredible stories. I know he's helped me a lot with defining my stories, so I'm excited. I think the hotshots out there are going to love what he has.
Yeah,
to
this
tell
is
us
this
today.
is one to remember. So definitely bookmark episode 54. I always ask folks, how did Chuck Goldstone become the Chuck Goldstone? So what was he like in terms of today? Now you have your own business, great book, strategies and stories. How did you get there? And you said you were on radio. So
my first career, interestingly enough, it was in radio. It was in college, and I started on the campus radio station. Yeah. And I ended up being not terrible. And I ended up getting a job while I was still finishing school. I got a job on one of the, at that point, top 40 stations in Pittsburgh. So I did that for a couple of years, and I thought I would move to Boston. Oh. I'd done a lot in Pittsburgh, but as a student, and I said I want to go to a place where I'm not seen as that person who was the student. Because I did that. I did some TV work. I did a little bit of film work. So I came to Boston thinking I was going to stay in radio. Mm-hmm. And I came here and I found out that there was, let me use the technical term, nothing available. So I had a chance to go back to grad school, which I did, and I went to BU. And the program was about a year, and it was on communication strategies and structural design, because I was very interested in educational TV and children's television. So I finished that degree and ended up then getting a job working for the Commonwealth. I worked at one of the colleges at that time, and producing, and I was there for a time working with literally, not figuratively, literally the worst person on the planet.
Wow.
And it was really an unpleasant experience. And at that point, I was starting to really look at what kind of clients were out there. And I just left, started my own company called IdeaWorks. And through the years, we grew. We did training, we did marketing, and we ended up with clients like Pepsi-Cola and General Cinema Theater and Velcro and a good number of the banks in Boston. So the company, and we were producing film, we were producing strategies, and the underpinning, but at that time I didn't call it that. The underpinning was story. Yeah. So anyway, I did that for a lot of years, and frankly, I got tired of managing a staff.
Yeah,
so I took off some time. Yeah. Well, I skinnied the company down, changed the direction, and took off some time, and I started to do some writing. A little different than the writing here. I mean, if I can go off on a tangent, I stayed in radio, but only dabbling, and I wrote. The other part of my life is part of what I wrote was humor, not jokes. I was a storyteller, and I got picked up by public radio and a program out in a national program called Marketplace on public radio. Nice. Brought me in to do commentary, but not business commentary. I did these 3-minute pieces that just jabbed a stick at the world. I continued to do that, but when I wanted to get back to serious stuff again, I realized that what I did that was fairly unique was this idea of story. How do we tell the world what it is that we do? And it just, over the last 10 years, really exploded. My focus was, even though I had worked with large corporate clients, my focus was the entrepreneurial space, the startup community, because I recognized that if anybody needs to be able to tell a story, it's someone who wants to grow, scale, get funding, and frankly, a lot of these folks were not doing a good job. Yeah. One of the things I tell people is that coming up with this great idea that's going to change the world, it's going to make you rich and famous, coming up with that idea is the second most important thing that you will do to become successful. And the first is convincing others.
Convincing others. I love it.
So you can have a great idea, you can have a great technology, but unless you can explain what it is that you're doing and show people why they should care about it, then you're going to be like, unfortunately, the majority of startups who either falter or unfortunately outright fail. Yeah. So that's been my focus. In the startup world, most people think that communication is about pitching at the end, the pitching for money. Mm-hmm. Well, you pitch in the end when you want to beg for something. Story you need from day one. Mm. It informs everything you do. It informs your strategy. It's the story you tell yourself. It is the way to explain to somebody what you do so you can get effective market validation. You can know if your idea is good from the beginning, or you can pivot. Yeah. It is at the core of everything we do, and frankly, if you wait until the end, you've squandered all your time, and not only that, you have missed the opportunity to screw it up along the way and then correct it and pivot and practice, because you don't want to be practicing on
the wrong person.
No, you want to. Not only that, you don't want to. You don't want to be practicing on the people who you need to do things like give you money, or buy your product. You can't be practicing.
That's
then.
a great tip. If everyone heard that right there, is when you do tell your story, probably you almost want to tell the story to the least important person just to get their feedback.
Yeah.
And then you get primed up ready for the right person.
It reminds me of something you and I, Jeff, have talked about before, and Chuck, you're probably familiar with this organization too, is Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a great place, especially if you're telling a story to an audience. You do it in front of a Toastmasters group.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get your feedback, they'll pick your speech apart and all of that stuff, which is what you want. But you also, try it out in front of a live audience and see how people react.
Yeah.
Which is a great,
Anytime you present, take advantage of it because, okay, I have presented for a gazillion years, and I present still to this day very often, either speaking gigs or workshops, and teaching. I will tell you, I still learn something new every time I present.
Nope.
And it's just an iterative process of you continue to grow. You get more and more confidence. One thing that is actually not a good thing is that I never get butterflies or stage fright anymore. And you think that's a good thing, and it's not. You want to be, and I have to psych myself into. I'm very comfortable, so I can start. And I guess that actually is a good thing where I am with this. But it's okay to be a little nervous. It's okay, and that adrenaline will do something if you can get through that first 10 or 15 seconds of yourself presenting. You're really on your way.
Yeah, love it. Wow, we're off to an awesome start. We talk about how why storytelling is more important than ever, and I love the timing. That was a great tip right there for a lot of entrepreneurs. And some of the lessons. Have we any other lessons you've learned before we get into some other questions over the years? Yeah, let's talk about radio. Yeah,
my first job was in radio. So here I am sitting in a studio like this.
What kind of music was it?
It was top 40.
Top 40?
Oh.
Were you playing a little Michael Jackson or what?
It was a little bit of everything back then, and I won't tell you when because it was a while ago. At any rate, what I learned about radio is here I am in a studio like this. I'm by myself. I've got a microphone, and I am hoping that there are people out there. But I recognized something as I was on the air, and that is that I was a button push away from somebody tuning me out.
That's a good point.
Turn of a dial, turn me down.
Right.
They have something else that's more important. I had to keep people's attention every moment. But here's the thing. You don't have to be on radio for somebody to push that button. You could be making a presentation at you could be across the table from someone, and they may just tune you out.
You see that at networking events a lot. You ever notice that? Sometimes you see the long-winded person, and you can see the other person like roving eye syndrome.
Yeah. So you have to maintain. You have to first capture attention. But then you have to maintain attention, and part of it is your own enthusiasm, and part of it is monitoring your audience, watching them. Are they zoning out? And there are certainly techniques to bring people back. But the important thing that I want to bring up now is that. You got to be aware, and you must keep attention. I tell people over and over that your audience does not owe you anything. You have to earn their attention every moment. So, I think that is fundamental and runs as your North Star. That's what you really need to focus on. You need to focus on really maintaining people's attention. And what's also important is that it is not your audience's responsibility to understand. It's your responsibility to be understood. So
that's a good point.
That's what I would say would be a lesson.
Right
no, but that's an important lesson. And a lot of
Yeah.
speakers don't realize that, and you can tell when you listen to them. that they just expect you to understand what they're talking about. They toss buzzwords and stuff like that out at you.
I go over that a lot. When I was a technology manager, so I used to manage IT folks, and no offense, but they're like one of the worst people to tell stories because they talk in I always say servers or the technology that the application's running on. A lot of people don't give a damn about that. They want to know about the services and the outcome.
They want to know about uptime. They want to know about what the benefit is of doing that. And people.
It's funny you bring that up. I run a lot of workshops. I run some master classes on strategy and story, but there's one for a specific audience that I think is fascinating, love working with them, but the biggest challenge, and that is technical people. I have a workshop, and if I tell you the name of it, and you will, I'm telling you the name because you will know precisely what I'm trying to accomplish, and it's called Teaching Technical Experts to Speak to Mere Mortals.
Write that one down.
And Reagan, capture that.
We
want to share that one out.
And it is, these folks are trained to be differently, and they see the world differently, and they don't see the world the way the audience, who might be a decision maker, sees it. There is a lot of focus, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but I will. They want to talk about how things work because that's the thing that's most fascinating to them. That's the thing. That's the novel idea they came up with. Nobody cares initially. They want to know, why does it need to exist?
Why does it need to
What's the
exist?
problem it's solving? What's the opportunity that it's bringing? So how? No, it needs to start with why. It's not about the data, at least not initially. In that first conversation, it's about the consequences of the data. What's the data mean?
What does it do?
It's not about detail. These folks, technical people, really, they're great because they understand detail and they can construct the whole from detail. Those of us who are mere mortals, we need to see the big picture first. And finally, people focus on features. Features are unimportant unless you can link it to benefits. So one of the things that I'm trying to teach people who are technical is you have to think not like yourself. You have to think like the people you're trying to reach. I'm next week, actually, which by the time this is out there will be before this.
This week.
We'll be out on Monday.
We'll be out
It's
on
the
Monday.
time. It's the time machine thing.
Yeah.
But it's a symposium where I'm doing one of the keynotes specifically on how do technical people, in this case, these are biomedical engineers.
Okay.
How do you talk to people who are not engineers? But what's interesting is even when you're speaking to somebody in your own field, they want to eventually know what the how is. But you still have to start them with the why it needs to exist.
The why.
That
Love it.
Here's the order. It's I stress this in workshops. I stress it in the book. It's why first, what second, and how third. Do not screw
Why,
that.
what,
How. And don't screw that order up.
Yeah. I know. Like, we have our wonderful executive producer, Reagan. Who's actually, if you want to pop over and say hi real quick, but these notes that, like what Chuck's showing, it's going to sound funny, but it's really gold.
It's gold.
Ironically.
This is gold.
I just rolled my eyes just momentarily.
So he likes that word,
okay.
gold. Goldstone, Chuck Goldstone. That's why you got the name Goldstone.
Yeah.
Right? So, good stuff. Reagan, come on over.
Actually.
There's Reagan. I'm over a little bit. You can slide over. There's Reagan right there.
And I would like to ask, I think it's a good time to ask how AI is affecting the storytelling.
Perfect question. I
That's
love
a
that
good
question,
question.
Reagan. How's AI affecting storytelling today?
It can be used for good or evil. I think that it is a really great research tool, but I see too many people using it as their end product. I see people really relying on it way too much. I think for research it's great. I think it can do a nice first draft for you. There's no problem with that, but you have to add to it yourself. You've got to think beyond that. I mean, you can continue to introduce prompts. So I think in that case, it is extremely valuable. I use it myself for that.
Yeah.
But you must end up going back and thinking like a human because you're going to try to reach another human. It also has to be in your voice. We are beginning to all get savvy about what sounds like AI.
Yeah.
And so, and I think there's one other really good purpose to it. And I just thought about this recently, and that is it can be your first audience for feedback.
Absolutely.
So in that respect, I think AI is valuable. AI both intrigues and scares me. And this is a whole other conversation that we are not going to get into.
Chuck Goldstone part 2.
No,
about AI and storytelling.
Part 2, 3, 4, and
4
8.
and 5.
But it also makes mistakes. It still makes mistakes. And it's a little better than now. The way I used to define AI is it is a very enthusiastic assistant who is an imbecile.
Yeah.
So it does it. So at any rate, I use it. The short answer is, my sarcasm aside, it can be a valuable tool to help you develop. But in the end, it is your presentation. It must reflect you. You've got to be able to reach people in a way that something as an objective technology as it is, it's not. It does not have necessarily the passion. You've got to show your own passion.
Perfect. I like that. And I'm going to bring up the facts, tell, stories, sell. I would say that a lot, right? The facts is probably AI. Maybe you're getting the facts, the feedback, the research. But that story is going to come from you.
Well, here's the deal. How do we make decisions? We do not make decisions. And this is a little bit of science, and I'm not a scientist, but we've learned that the part of the brain that actually says yes is not the cognitive part of the brain. We do not make decisions, and think about this, we don't make decisions in the cognitive part of our brain. It's not the factual stuff. We can get all the factual stuff, and that will drive us, but we don't agree until our gut says yes, until it feels right.
Yeah.
So decisions are made emotionally. I have developed something that I call the Z chart.
A Z?
The Z chart. Now, I'll explain that. You do not start with content. You start with intent. You do not start with what you want people to know. You start with what you want people to do. That's where we start. You have an assignment. You have to do a pitch. Oh, let me start to write my outline. That's a download of content. What you have to do first is who is the audience? What is going to resonate with them? And most important, what do you want them to do? Fund me, hire me, get out of my way, whatever that happens to be. You have to start with that. So here's and the only way you can change or reinforce, because you either want to change what people do or say what you're doing, I like, continue to do it.
Yep.
The only way you can do that is if you either change what people feel or think or reinforce that. So you do the do first, the feel, what do they need to feel, because that's going to drive what they need to do, and then and only then do you pick the right content. To make them experts? No. To give them enough that it either reinforces what you want them to do, introduces what you want them to do, make them change their mind, and that will lead them to the top of this chart, which is do. So the way the Z chart works is you start by saying, what do I want people to do? Then next to it you say, okay, what are they doing now? And then you either have to change or reinforce it. That's the do. Then you go down to that second line. What do I need them to feel in order to make them experts? No. In order not to make them experts? No. In order to either change or reinforce what they want them to do. Well, then, what are they doing now? Do the math. Whatever is left is either what you need to reinforce or change. Then you go down to the third line in this modified Z. What do we not need people to do? In order to what? To change or reinforce what they feel. And that's how the whole thing works. So I think and I teach this, and it becomes an eye opener for a lot of people because they recognize you have to invert the process. You've got to start with what's the behavior? What do I want people to do? What's the action? We want to drive action.
Perfect. I love that answer.
That actually ties into, if you remember a couple episodes ago, we talked about they may not remember what you said as much as they'll remember
how they felt
Yeah, right.
at the end. So, hey, let's go into a little bit more on the marketing side, right? So, what role does storytelling play in branding? You think about a company's brand.
Your brand is what you feel about it. I mean, it's not just your logo. It's not just your marketing material. It's how do people feel about your product? Do they need it? Do they identify with it? What is really important, and maybe this is part of what we're talking about, but I think it's an important element, is the element of differentiation.
Yep.
You got to be different than those who the world thinks that you're part of. You're not who you think you are. Mm-hmm. You're not even who you are.
No.
You're who they think you are.
Exactly.
Or what's worse is who
what do they think of you? Not
or think you are.
Yeah,
how do they define you?
Yeah.
And what's more diabolical is it's who they confuse you with, even though that might not be what you are and what you do. So once again, it's your responsibility to be able to communicate that. People will see your story or your brand or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And they will create that image, they will create that story, either based on what they surmise, which puts them in control. They're in control of that. Or it is the message that you deliver. Now you have control. You make them understand. You guide them to whatever feeling it is that you want them to have about you. Right. So I think that I work mostly with startups. But if you have just any kind of business, you need to differentiate. Let me give you one more example. Let's say that you are, I will take it out of the startup world. Let's say you're an insurance company. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're in this big triangle with 97 other insurance companies. So choosing me choosing you as an insurance company, you got a 1 in 97 chance of me choosing you.
There is a chance.
What you need to do is find that thing that differentiates you, that says, I'm in the insurance, I'm in that, but this is what makes me different. If you can find what that difference is and it resonates with what you think people need, and you do that by doing a little research, if you can differentiate yourself and show that you are similar to that thing that people need, you're off by yourself. So you know what you've done? You've changed the odds. You're no longer 1 in 97. You're 1 in 9. You're 1 in 2. It's either you or somebody in this big pile.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to differentiate. I think that is. Let me share a couple of my favorite words. In whether it's startups or really any business. One is differentiation. Second is memorability. But to get better and more successful, you need 2 other words. Number 1 is understand how important curiosity is. That's the only reason we continue to grow. That's the only reason we get really great ideas. That's the only reason we can be creative. So that's the first word, and my favorite word, serendipity.
Serendipity.
It's that magical thing that happens that you don't expect.
Yeah.
And serendipity only pays its way and becomes successful for people who pay attention. It's all out there, something that will be a springboard for a new idea. It's either out there or it's already in you, and you just have to give it an opportunity to come out by thinking creatively. So, I think serendipity, I think creativity, they're really very much related. And I think to be successful, whether you're a startup, whether you have a business, whether you have a dry cleaning establishment. No matter what it is that you do, I think this is what I'm trying to share and what I'm trying to direct people to do is important for anybody who wants somebody in the world to pay attention.
Yeah.
And once again, it goes back to that thing I said. Then you control what people think because you then are what you want them. They think of you as what you want them to think of you as, and you have now controlled the flow of that story.
Awesome stuff. So I have a little question that when I take it down a little bit of a level, I want to tell my story. So what's a simple framework I can use, anyone can use, to tell this story? Because a lot of times people are like, all right, I know I got a story. I got to tell a story. Mm-hmm. That's how stories sell, right? Facts tell, stories sell. What's that framework?
Well, let's go to the top level first. Your story is your narrative or your content plus whatever emotional link. How can you get people to engage and find what it is that you're talking about as being relevant? Telling the story, the springboard for telling the story is generally someone will say, "Hey, I'm gonna leave this to you. What's the most common question? You meet somebody for the first time. Mm-hmm. You introduce yourself, shake hands. You're at a networking event. You're. What's the first thing that people ask you?
What do you do?
Exactly. And we did not rehearse this, did we?
I know.
We didn't rehearse this.
We're all so used to it.
What do you do?
What do you do? Sometimes you get what brings you here.
What brings you here?
So what do you do?
Generally, it's what do you do? And people, and I ask people that all the time. I say, hey, what do you do? And they tell me, and they go deep into how they do it or something that is totally about them. And they go through it, and at the end I want to say, that's very interesting. I only have one follow-up question. What do you do? See, when I ask that, when I ask what do you do, and we all ask, really we're asking three things. Number one, why do you deserve to be in the cosmos? What's the problem you're solving or the opportunity that you're offering? It needs to be one or the other. It can be both, but it needs to be one or the other. Are you doing something that no one's done before, or are you doing something that someone's done before, but you can do it better? Or there's actually a third, and that is somebody is first, somebody can do it better, but you have a better story. Yeah. Okay, so the first level is why do you deserve to be in the cosmos? The second is the thing that's more important, and that is why should your audience care?
Why should the audience
because
care?
That makes it about them. Yep. And then the third element of this, what do you do, is, okay, now that we understand each other, where do we go from here? What do we do next? What is the ask? So, I think that is going to be at the core of creating any story because people are asking you what you do. So to be more direct in terms of that answer is you have to think about who you are, but what is it that will make them engage? Why should they care? Yep. The story's not about us. We can be the subject matter, but the story needs to be about the people who you are trying to reach.
Exactly.
It's got to be about It's got to be about them. What do you do? Hey, we have a technology that does this. So what?
Who cares?
Who cares? You got to start out by getting people's attention. I want to get academic here, but I think there are 5 parts to any kind of communication, any kind of presentation. One is you must capture attention. Number 2 is you have to make the content relevant. Number 3, you have to make it simple and clear. Number 4, you have to make it memorable. And number 5, it needs to drive action. Perfect. So when you've got to think about that, you've got to put yourself in the head of the people who you were trying to reach. Why should they listen? You've got to make it about them. You've got to make it worth their while. You've got to make them say, hey, that's really interesting. Tell me more. Oh, what a coincidence. That's part of the title of my book. That's part of your... How do you think that happened? But I think that is pretty much at the core of any kind of engagement. You've got to pique people's curiosity, and you've got to get them to begin to ask questions, and that's where all of this, I think, begins to come together.
Perfect. Love that.
So Chuck, this conversation actually got me thinking of a conversation that I saw on Reddit of all places. And us Gen Xers, we're familiar with TV shows and reboots and all of that stuff. So A Tale of Two Reboots. You compare something like Cobra Kai, which was a reboot of the Karate Kid films, or a continuation of them. And then Saved by the Bell. There was the Peacock series that kind of took off 20-something years after the kids were in Bayside. Good discussion about it, because the director of Saved by the Bell was not passionate about the series. It was more of like a spoof, and they made fun of the original content. Where Cobra Kai, the two creators, the three creators of it, they were passionate. They loved the Karate Kid series. And they created something that, because they had that passion, it had a much different result. It was received a lot differently. What are your thoughts about passion when you're creating a story?
Unless you're passionate about it, unless you're enthusiastic, why should your audience care? Right. You've got to show your enthusiasm, and to be able to do that, you've got to be confident about what you present, and you have to do it in a conversational way. This is not, what we're doing is not public speaking. This is a conversation. This is it might be a conversation. It might actually be a narrative, but it's got to be in your own voice. You have to be natural. You can't be an actor. What do actors do? Actors try to do what we do when we're being natural. So let's not try to be an actor.
We got all these great lines coming out of
I know. Our notes are incredible for this episode.
So make it conversational. Authenticity is what people buy. If you have a service, if you have a technology, if you're a startup, if you have any kind of service, people need to be confident in you, and you can communicate that by being confident, not arrogant, but confident.
It's a big difference between confidence.
But you need to be passionate. You need to care about what it is, because audiences are really sophisticated. They're going to know.
Exactly.
If you don't care, they're going to know. And where does confidence come from? It comes from, I got a good strategy. I know what I want to say. I'm confident about what I want to say. I have something to share with these people, and I want them to appreciate what it is. Your audience is there because they want to be part of this. They want to get something out of it. That's why that's generally why they're there.
Perfect stuff. So, man, we are landing the plane. This has been an incredible. I think 54 could be. I'm gonna put a check mark on episode 54.
Yeah,
thanks, Chuck. I really appreciate
a couple of things on this one. So, I'm going to be listening to this one a lot, because I think the information you provided was incredible, and I think we have to have you back not just once but multiple times.
Well, I'd be happy.
We got through barely some of the things we wanted to talk about with Chuck.
So we're gonna do a part 2, Chuck.
I'd be happy to do that.
You've been in radio before, so this is a natural for you.
This is great. As we land the plane, obviously, thank you so much for doing this with us, Chuck, coming all the way out here from Cambridge and
Brookline. Cambridge would be even more difficult to get.
And then our next episode is going to be it's going to be Mark the Hotshot Live, Part 4, A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Star Wars fans out there.
So it'll be June 18th at the Framingham Common between 4 and 7. Yeah. We'll have a booth where I take people, just like previous live episodes. Yeah. Folks will come up, ask some questions, and they're live, right? We'll be live.
We'll be live.
And so come out to Framingham Common this Thursday, the 18th of June, 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We'll be out there. Also, check out marketlikeahotshot.com and learn like a hotshot. We got some great courses there about goal setting, prospecting, and networking like a hotshot, and some good merch. And of course, we have.
Speaking of merch, I can be shameless and tell people the book is available on Amazon. So.
All right, and this book right here, Strategies and Stories, Amazon.com.
We got to put a link to it up.
We'll put that. Yeah, we'll put that link there. So appreciate out there, Hotshot Nation. This is great, Chuck. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here today. And hotshots, let's all be hotshots and tell stories like a hotshots. Last but not least, leave a comment here. We want to hear your stories. Have a good day.